Hi everyone, Leanne here from Jaded Blossom, and I have 3 Christmas cards to share with you today. Hey there, so I am using our stitch square dies, our triangle square mat dies, our small poinsettia dies, the poinsettia dies, and the Joyful stamp set. I'm using Christmas Cheer by Echo Park along with My Favorite Christmas and American Crafts Christmas Foil. So I went ahead and I paper pieced these squares. So the squares are basically 3 7/16 in size when you put all the triangles up against each other. And the paper for those triangles were either from that Christmas Cheer pad or they're solid textured paper from American Crafts or Nina Desert Storm craft cardstock in 80 pounds. So that poinsettia paper is actually from My Favorite Christmas. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mat these little triangle mats that I didn't use the frame for onto a 3 9/16 little piece of foil. And then there we go. I used the 4-inch square die for the stitch square, and I used leftovers on the inside. So I'm quickly going to do this to the other 2 cards. So these papers, these background papers were all from that My Favorite Christmas. And they're just cut with the 4-inch stitch square die. That is on, that is a 4.5-inch square card. So it'll fit in an A2 sized envelope. That's pine feather cardstock from Paper Tray Ink. Excuse me. So there we go. And now these are the squares that I used. It was really, really fun. I just basically ran a bunch of scrap paper through this triangle mat die, and then I put the little triangles up against each other instead of putting them in the frame. And so it makes a smaller little image, which was kind of fun. I used sticky, what's it called? Can't remember what it's called. Sticky sheets on a solid piece of cardstock behind, just so it was sticky, double-sided sticky all over the place, and I laid it down. So there we are. So now I've got the 3 cards assembled. So I'm going to quickly go ahead and I'm going to stamp my sentiment. I'm using a sentiment from that Joyful stamp set. I'm using Ink on 3's Juicy ink along with my Misty, and I'm going to stamp onto Nina Desert Storm 80-pound cardstock. So I did stamp it 3 times just to make sure I got a nice clear image, well covered, because it's kind of a solid sentiment. And then I'm going to be using Nuvo Fine Detail Classic Gold embossing powder. And I'm just going to sprinkle that on over a coffee filter there. And I'm going to melt the powder using my Marvy Heat tool. I did use one of those anti-static bags. I'm not sure if I don't think I mentioned that. There we are. That never gets old, eh? I love melting embossing powder. So that's why I left it in the video. So now these pieces are American Crafts green cardstock, and I'm taking Distress ink in Forest Moss, and I'm just inking the edges, and that's onto one of those Stampin' Up pads. There we are. And I did that for all 3 cards. There we go. And then I'm taking Aged Mahogany in Distress ink, and I'm going to take, that's the small poinsettia die, and I cut that out of paper, out of a solid, well, it's not solid, it's sort of like a red pattern paper. It's hard to see the pattern though, it's really tone on tone, from My Favorite Christmas from Echo Park. So I'm just going to ink the edges just to give it a little bit of interest. And I do this for all 3 cards. So I'm going to ink, just showing you the inking of one. I cut out all my dies using my Gemini machine, if I didn't mention it before. So I'm just inking up all the edges of this poinsettia die, the small one. And then I used that piece of pine and the little swirls from the large poinsettia set to add to this. So now I'm using Stampin' Up! Dimensionals, and I'm just going to pop up this poinsettia in the center of this card. So I'm just using my reverse tweezers from EK Success, and I'm popping it up there. And I'm going to go ahead and use Stampin' Up! Dimensionals, and I'm actually using both sizes, the normal and then the small ones. So I'm just peeling those off. This is sped up because it takes me forever to peel off the backs of stuff. I don't know why. So there we go. And then now on the little one, I'm going to use the miniature little Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. And I'm just popping those all on this little poinsettia die. I'm just going to peel all these off and then I'll pop that one up. So this was a really fast and easy little card set. I thought I'd just go ahead and use those triangle matte dies, but not use the outline. So now this is my sentiment that I basically just trimmed out with my paper trimmer. I gave it an angled end, and I'm just going to pop that onto my card base using my ATG tape. There we go. So now I'm just going to show you, this is fast. I wish I could work this fast, but this is sped up. So this is time lapse, and I'm just showing you quickly assembling the other two cards, doing the exact same thing. There we go. And now I've got all three cards, and I'm going to add all the gold foil from that American Crafts Christmas foil cardstock. I'm adding the centers to the poinsettias, and then I'm going to add in the little leaves, and this is with art glitter glue again. And of course, you know, it depends on where I've got that foam, those foams. So I've got to trim off this guy using my EK Success scissors. And you notice I kind of screwed that up, so I've got to trim it down a little shorter. But it works. Slide her in there, it'll work. There we go. And then the last one I'll put on too. There we are. So that's that American Crafts cardstock. It's a bit textured, so it adds a little bit of texture. I used some of that in the background of these card on those triangle matte dies too. I used the textured American Crafts cardstock in green and in red actually for the background. Along with some pattern paper from that Christmas cheer pad. And Nina Desert Storm cardstock, of course. So now I'm adding in my little filigrees here, little curly Q pieces. And they look so pretty cut out of that foil. I just love it out of foil. So now I'm just going to stick those in with that American Crafts, or no, sorry. What's it called? Art glitter glue. I don't know what I'm thinking. So slip this in. Here we go. Just making sure the glue sticks down. And I've got 3 little curly Qs for each card. So I'm going to slip those all in. And quickly we'll have a pretty decorated card. I got a little extra glue on there, but that's okay. It won't show once I'm done. There we go. Just want to clean it up a little bit. And then the last one, we'll put this little curly Q on. So easy peasy stuff. There we go. And now I'm going to add in my last little curly Q. I love these little curly Qs. I use them on a lot of things actually, not just the poinsettia dies. I use them on other stuff too. They're just so pretty. I love the little curly Qs. There we go. I'm going to pop this last one in. And then there we go. I'm just making sure I clean up my glue. Now I'm going to be adding some pretty pink posh sparkling clear confetti. And I'm using my Studio Katia embellishment wand and glossy accents just to stick those down. I like to use glossy accents when something's shiny and clear, just because that's kind of how it dries, so you don't really notice it behind your embellishment. There we go. So I'm just adding these all in, just for a little bit of glitter, along with the gold cardstock. Now I did that with all of them. Now I'm going to add with VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, I'm going to add my sentiment on the inside. And it says, it's from the same stamp set, wishing you tidings of comfort and joy. That's from that same stamp set, Joyful. Sorry, guys. There we go. And I'll be stamping this last one here. And how cute is that? I love how these turned out. They're so pretty and glittery, perfect for Christmas, I think. So thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to hop on over to the Jada Blossom store and maybe get your hot little hands on some of these products. And hopefully we'll see you soon in my next video. Bye, everyone.